Hi, I'm Fred Skaggs, retired pastor and marriage and family therapist. Glad to have you with us today. My subject is the cry of the hungry. The text is Matthew 25, verses 31 through 40, which is probably the best known part of the ministry of Jesus anywhere in the New Testament. Only Matthew tells this marvelous story. Two small, starving brothers, each who dreamed of growing up to be heavyweight champion of the world, died after days of begging scraps of food from door to door and eating out of neighborhood trash cans. 6-year-old William Bauman Jr. died with a plea for food on his lips. "Please, may I have a ham sandwich?" He barely murmured to hospital attendants. His 7-year-old brother never regained consciousness after police removed him from the shabby one-room apartment where their parents lived with their 7 children. And where did these tragedies happen? In Bangladesh, in South Sudan, in Gaza, in Haiti? No, actually, it was in New Orleans. UNICEF, an important part of the United Nations organization, indicates that in the latest global report on food crisis, reveals that nearly 282 million people in 59 countries and territories experienced high levels of acute hunger in 2023. This represents a worldwide increase of 24 million people from the previous year. Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh, they say, is swollen with 400,000 people from the countryside seeking food. Street sweepers find dozens of dead bodies in the gutters of the city every morning. In North India, in parts of Africa and some other countries, it is reported that whole families commit suicide to escape the slow, torturous death of starvation. This week, the headlines say a growing number of children in Gaza are dying from dehydration and malnutrition. Why don't they just say it like it is? They're starving to death. Say it. The little food that is available isn't enough to meet children's nutritional needs today, we're talking about. As a result, thousands of children are malnourished and sick and dying. What is so bad about starvation is that it not only kills people, but it also cheapens human life. When there's not enough bread to go around, human life becomes cheap, awfully cheap. Hunger not only creates empty stomachs, but empty lives, expressionless faces, eyes that don't sparkle, voices that don't sing, and hearts that don't hope. Oh, by the way, our government has supposedly helped us with the hunger problem. In 2006, 18 years ago, the Department of Agriculture dropped the word hunger from its annual report. Now, 35 million Americans just suffer instead from low food security. I guess that makes starving people feel better. There are 3 basic attitudes we can assume as we look out on our hungry world. They're very simple, I understand that, but please stay with me. The first one is we can accept a kind of fatalism. hungry people in the slums of Haiti are giving new meaning to the phrase dirt poor. Many desperate people are eating mud cookies to stave off their hunger pangs. Charlene, 16, with a 1-month-old child several years ago now, came to rely on a traditional Haitian remedy for hunger pains, cookies made from dried yellow dirt from the country's central plateau. Today, hundreds of thousands of people in the Nuba Mountains of South Sudan have run out of food and are surviving on leaves, wild roots, and insects. What are we doing about that? Does it ever cause you a sleepless night? Ever in your life? I guess we can say that things have always been bad in these countries, and they just have to live with it or die with it. Or I can say, I don't live in Haiti. I don't live in South Sudan. That's not my problem. That's one way you can think of it. And a lot of people do. Just ask them. Unless, of course, it's your child that's dying of hunger. The second way we can look at it is we can be indifferent and refuse to get involved. I can feel like there are so many hungry mouths that we can scarcely begin to feel or relieve the hunger pangs of our world. There's not much we can really do about it, I can think. So we rationalize our way out. I'm sorry it's happening, but governments are just going to have to do more. We become indifferent with that attitude, and we refuse to get more involved. Unless, of course, it's our child that's dying. Then a third attitude says that something can be done if we try. We can't change it all, but we can try. One thing is that we can be more careful about the food we throw away. Feeding America and a host of other agencies gather tons of food that would likely be thrown away and make it available to hundreds of thousands of people who would otherwise have to do without. Food Lion, among a number of other companies, participates in this program. It's small, yes, but it's wonderful that they're able to do that much. Then we can check on what's being done in our own town or city by our government, by churches, and by others who are doing a wonderful job, and many are, and participate in their ministries. Then we can watch for hungry people in our community. There are more than you think. I asked a checkout employee at a local grocery recently how many people bring their groceries to be checked out, only to find that their credit card won't go through, and ultimately have to leave the store without their food. She said, "More than you want to know." I've seen that. It hurts so bad to see it. I've tried to help on some occasions, but we all need to be more sensitive to those people. Most of them have children, and they don't know where to turn for help. They're very sad, and they're hurting, and they're near us. We of the Christian church cannot accept either the fatalism or the indifference of which I've just spoken. We must feel that there's something we can do. Therefore, there's something we must do. Christian love should give us the concern that results in the proper use of technology to grow better crops and the right kind of social planning to use them better. It should also provide the compassion of which I'm speaking. In the 25th chapter of Matthew, Jesus gives us the parable of the Last Judgment. If indeed we read it carefully, we can discover 6 questions, the first of which is, did you feed the hungry? It was this kind of caring that both impressed and thwarted Emperor Julian the Apostate's 4th century efforts to suppress Christianity. He was once a Christian himself. We ought to be ashamed, he told his officials. Not a beggar is to be found among the Jews. And those godless Galileans, his reference to Christians, feed not only their own people, but ours as well. And that was the truth. Nikolai Berdyaev, the Russian religion and political philosopher, said to his people, where our bread is concerned, it's a material matter. Where our neighbor's bread is concerned, it's a spiritual matter. Dr. Gregory Jones, a prominent figure in the Presbyterian community, tells about an experience he had several years ago when he went to Haiti. He visited an impoverished village where the children had bloated stomachs and little more to eat than sugar cane or mud pies, mud cookies. While he was there, a small Haitian man who was missing most of his teeth came up to him and said, I heard that in America you have diet dog food. That's not true, is it? This poor man could not imagine that while his children were slowly starving to death, people in our country were feeding their pets diet food because they were so overweight. His question left Jones speechless. He said the man's words were like a knife piercing him and producing deep feelings of guilt because he knew he should do more to help the hungry. What he could not do was to tell the man that what he had heard was not true, because it is true. Remember what Jesus said in Matthew 25:40. The king will reply, I tell you the truth. Whatever you did for one of the least of these, my brothers, you did it for me. Amen. Now, one final word before I finish today. For 2.5 years, it's been my privilege to share this ministry with many of you. I want to thank you for your kindness to me and kind words about the ministry. Today's message is the last one. I want to wish you well as you continue on your spiritual journey. Blessings to all of you. God bless you, and thank you. Amen.